The moment a U.S. submarine surfaces near Japan, the first thing that happens is that everyone who cares about the Western Pacific starts doing math in their head. Not the public, not most headlines, the people behind the scenes, the ones who track patterns, ports, timing, and what a surfaced submarine usually means. Because a U.S. nuclear submarine is built to stay invisible. So when it breaks the surface in a place like Yokosuka, the question isn't what is it doing there? The question is, what had to happen for it to be worth showing up at all? We've seen this play out in real life. On October 4th, 2024, USS Seawolf, one of the most capable and least common U.S. nuclear attack submarines, surfaced and entered Yokosuka, Japan, where ship spotters photographed the boat arriving with tug assistance, and local authorities confirmed the port visit. That kind of appearance instantly triggers two storylines, the visible one that happens above the water and the invisible one that happens under it. The visible storyline looks simple enough. Tugs, pier lines, crews on deck, a port call. The invisible storyline is the real reason people pay attention, because it includes classified patrol patterns, intelligence cycles, alliance messaging, and the quiet mechanics of deterrence. So what happens next after a U.S. submarine surfaces near Japan, if you follow the real chain of events? First, the arrival becomes controlled almost immediately, even if it looks casual to outsiders. Submarines don't just roll in the way a cargo ship does. As they approach an Allied base like Yokosuka, they shift into a tightly managed harbor transit. Tugboats and harbor pilots often assist, especially in crowded waterways where commercial traffic, ferries, and port infrastructure make maneuvering much more complex. That tug escort is not just about convenience. It's about safety, scheduling, and keeping the submarine's arrival predictable in a place that can't afford a mistake. The photos of Seawolf coming in with tugs weren't surprising to anyone who's watched these ports. What was surprising was the fact that the submarine was visible enough to be photographed clearly at all. Second, the political and administrative side quietly clicks into place. Japan has long hosted visits by U.S. nuclear-powered warships, and both governments have established safety frameworks for those port calls. Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has published public-facing materials about U.S. nuclear-powered warship safety and how the U.S. responds to incidents, emphasizing the design and safety systems of naval reactors and the coordination mechanisms used when these ships visit Japan. A submarine's reactor isn't something Japan inspects in the way people sometimes imagine, but the existence of formal safety policy and established procedures matters because it's part of why these port visits can happen without turning into domestic political crises every time. The paperwork, notifications, and coordination are the boring formalities that make it a dramatic moment, such as an American nuclear submarine surfacing in Japan. Third, the security bubble tightens around the pier. This part is easy to underestimate because the pier itself looks calm on camera. But in practice, a visiting nuclear submarine is treated like a protected, high-value object. Access controls go up. Sensitive areas are locked down. Movements are planned. Sometimes, depending on the base and the timing, photography rules get stricter around the waterfront. Even if civilians can capture a few images from a distance, as was the case with the Seawolf, the immediate waterside environment is usually controlled tightly. That's partly about protecting the crew and the vessel, but it's also about protecting information. And information is way more important here. But submarines leak information in strange ways. What the hull looks like after patrol, what equipment is visible, what repairs are needed, and what external fittings are present. Those details can matter to foreign intelligence services that study patterns obsessively. Fourth, the crew decompresses, but not the way people imagine. A submarine port visit isn't just shore leave. It's reset time, and reset time has structure. After weeks or months operating in a closed, highly controlled environment, crews need rest, medical checks, resupply, and maintenance cycles. The submarine needs food, parts, and sometimes minor repairs that can't be done effectively at sea. Even if the boat is perfectly healthy, port time is when teams swap out consumables, update software, run diagnostics, and address wear and tear that accumulates quietly underwater. The outside world sees sailors stepping off onto the pier. The inside world sees maintenance lists, inspections, and systems checks. Fifth, if the port call is tied to exercises or allied coordination, the real work starts in conference rooms. This is one of the most important after effects of such a high-impact surfacing. The meetings. Yokosuka is not just a convenient harbor. It's a key hub for US and Japanese naval coordination, and major exercises around Japan increasingly emphasize coordination across domains. Exercise Keen Sword. 25 in late October 2024 was described by US Forces Japan as the largest iteration since the exercise began in 1986 and involved 10 days of integrated training across Japan with US, Japanese, and partner participation. In the following year, multilateral maritime training like Annualex 2025 explicitly emphasized maritime communications, anti-submarine warfare, air warfare, and replenishment at sea. And it explicitly noted participation that included a US submarine. That context matters because when a US submarine surfaces near Japan, it often signals that undersea operations are being linked with broader alliance training cycles, not treated as a separate secret world. Even if the submarine in question isn't publicly listed in every exercise release, the pattern of how these events run makes the after phase feel predictable to planners. They follow the usual briefings, coordination, exchange of lessons, and preparation for the next undersea mission. Sixth, the information environment changes instantly. This is the part that happens above water but travels globally at digital speed. The moment a submarine surfaces and gets photographed, analysts start comparing the hull to past port visits, tracking timing, and asking whether the appearance is routine or intentional signaling. In Seawolf's October 2024 Yokosuka visit, reporting highlighted that local authorities confirmed the port call and that it was unusual enough to draw attention as a message of undersea presence in the Western Pacific. Even Chinese military commentary framed the arrival as noteworthy and questioned the intention behind sending that type of boat to Japan. That reaction loop, including the appearance, photos, confirmation, analysis, and counter-analysis, is part of the aftermath in the modern era. A surfaced submarine becomes content, and content becomes strategy, whether the Navy wants it to or not. Sometimes that's the point. Sometimes it isn't. But either way, the ripple travels. Seventh, adversaries start running their own after-action process. Not publicly, internally. A surfaced submarine near Japan forces foreign analysts to ask, which unit is it? What class is it? How long has it been gone? And what might it have been doing? If the submarine is a high-end boat, the question becomes sharper. What did it come here to support? A regional patrol? Intelligence collection? Undersea tracking? Or simply a scheduled port visit that the US didn't bother to hide? The US Navy doesn't need to answer those questions for the effect to land. The uncertainty is part of the deterrence. When the US surfaces a submarine and allows confirmation to stand, as in the Seawolf's case, it effectively forces rival planners to assume US undersea assets are in the region, even when they aren't visible. Eighth, the exercise layer often becomes more credible. Here's what that means. Anti-submarine warfare is one of the hardest things militaries do. It's slow, technical, and filled with uncertainty. A real submarine in the water makes training honest. That's why exercises like Annualex 2025 spotlight anti-submarine warfare operations as a focus area and list a US submarine among the participating assets, alongside major surface ships and maritime patrol aircraft. Then, there's the logistics wake that follows any submarine surfacing. Even if the boat only stays for a short port call, the visit supports broader undersea operations. Yokosuka and nearby facilities serve as hubs where U.S. forces coordinate, replenish, and keep a tempo that would be difficult if every submarine had to go back to Hawaii or the U.S. West Coast between patrol cycles. The U.S. doesn't publicly narrate those details, but the fact that regional exercises highlight integrated maritime operations shows how much of power is really sustainment. A submarine's ability to return to sea quickly depends on how smoothly that sustainment chain runs. 10th, the alliance narrative hardens. This is a quieter effect, but it's real. When US and Japanese forces run large exercises framed around readiness and interoperability, like Keen Sword 25 being described as a major iteration across multiple locations in Japan, it's already a political message. The alliance is active and integrated. A surfaced US submarine near Japan adds a different kind of weight to that message. It says, without saying, that the undersea dimension is included. And in a region where undersea warfare could decide whether sea lanes stay open and whether fleets can maneuver, that matters. It's not about scaring anyone for attention. It's about making deterrence more credible by making cooperation more routine. Then comes the final phase, leaving. And even departure has its own after. When a US submarine submerges and slips back into the Pacific, the public story ends, but the strategic story continues. The boat doesn't disappear into nowhere. It disappears into a region where submarines are used to watch, to track, to deter, and to be ready. The adversary doesn't know where it went, which is the point. Allies know it was there, which is also the point. And planners on all sides now have a fresh data point. The US can place undersea power into Japanese waters at will, tie it to major training cycles, and let the world notice just enough to keep everyone guessing. So the fact that a US submarine surfaced near Japan is only the beginning of a chain. After that, you get controlled harbor procedures and alliance coordination shaped by long-standing safety frameworks. You get crew and maintenance cycles that support undersea tempo. You get briefings and interoperability work that links the silent service to the visible, multinational drills happening in the region. You get an information storm that forces adversaries to think harder than they want to, and allies to worry a little less than they otherwise would. And then, once the boat dives again, you're left with the real outcome. A reminder that the most important moves in the Pacific are often the ones that happen without cameras, except for the rare moments when someone chooses to surface and let you see a fraction of the picture.